Hey everyone, it's Winsall Danny with a late night update on July 12th. The cruising fleet has been gone for a while, and there has been a two different paths taken by the cruising fleet. Let's just look at this real quickly, and then we'll talk about the weather and wrap up this update. So the bulk of the cruising fleet, as you can see, is back here sort of off Waukegan, north to the Illinois state line, except for one guy here. This is Infinite Diversion. They were first to finish last year in the cruising fleet. Joe Haas's boat. It's a Hant 63 and a very fast boat. And so where most of the boats have stayed here by the Illinois-Wisconsin shoreline, and we'll talk about that in a minute when we look at the weather, Infinite Diversion is out in the middle of the lake, and you'll see it's sort of even with this Weather Boy right here. You can probably see that Weather Boy. Information on Infinite Diversion shows them going at, 7.8 knots, which is surprising right now. I'll explain why in a second. And if you can see this number right here, they're 17.7 nautical miles ahead of the next competition, which is really long away. The other thing you'll see is that we got really low boat speeds sort of in this group of boats in the back here. Let me just jump out of full screen mode here for a second and do my manual zoom here and just zoom in on these boats a little bit closer. And let me zoom in a little bit more. There we go. So I just want to show you some of the boat speeds here. So here we got Forte C going 4 knots. You see the speed of 4 knots there. Boats on the inside here are 1.9 knots here for Nimbus. 1.4 knots for Endeavor. That's Matt Gallagher's boat, who's really making a bet towards the Illinois shoreline, it looks like. Ali's back here, who I read on Twitter had a little problem with their jib at the start of the race. Is going 3.4 knots. So we're not seeing great boat speeds here for the cruising fleet. And a reason for that, if we look at the wind speeds in Lake Michigan right now, let me just give you an idea of what we're seeing. So this is the National Data Buoy Center, and I click on some of these. You can see here where my mouse is right now that in the middle of the lake the wind is only 6 knots. And if we look over where those boats are, Waukegan area, that's winds at 0.0 knots gusting to 1.0. So it's getting really calm out there. Here's Kenosha, 1 knot gusting to 2.9 knots. And over here on the east side of the lake, so Holland, Michigan, 2.9 gusting to 4.1. So a touch more pressure over that on the eastern shore than on the western shore. Most pressure's in the middle, and that's why we're seeing Infinite Diversion take off right now. Now, that's going to change. And for this, I'm going to refer to the weather briefing from tonight from Chris Bedford of Sailing Weather Services. And what we're looking at here, we're going to look at these a lot during the race, is a wind flow and magnitude chart. These are model outputs from Sailing Weather Services, our partner in this race. And lighter colors are lighter winds, and sort of brighter colors like these greens at the top here are stronger winds. And the arrow shows the direction from which the wind is coming. So right here, where my mouse is right now, we're in the 2 to 4 knot range. You can tell that by the color, with winds out of the east. And this is actually valid tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So we are continuing to see a light wind pattern overnight into tomorrow morning, generally east winds, maybe slightly southeast winds for the cruising fleet tomorrow. And let's just sort of advance through time here and you see what the cruising fleet's going to get and what the racers are going to get. So 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, our racers go off in kind of an easterly wind. Our cruising fleet is going to be maybe up here somewhere, and they're going to be like in a southeasterly wind, very light. This is a classic lake breeze, which we'll talk about a lot more as the race goes on, but only 4 or 5 knots of breeze, not terribly fast. And then by 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, this lake breeze becomes even more developed. Again, our racers are going off in about maybe 8 knots worth of breeze out of the east. They're going to be probably going straight up the shore, I would bet. They don't want to go here into the middle to where this light wind is, which is sort of the choice that Infinite Diversion is facing right now as well. Where they're going to get stuck where all this light stuff is. Sort of fast forwarding through, this continues to be the lake breeze with this weak spot in the middle, and then winds go almost northeast for our racing fleet and sort of east for our cruisers if they're in this neighborhood right here. You can see that the winds on the east side of the lake, as that lake breeze develops, actually are a little bit lighter than the ones on the west side of the lake, and that's why I think we're seeing the cruisers stick on the east side of the lake, the west side of the lake, the Wisconsin shore, as the race goes on. Then overnight tomorrow night, wow, it's really light. So we're seeing really no wind speeds over about 6 knots here. through the whole lake. Very, very light easterly breezes going dead calm in a lot of parts of the lake. And our meteorologist, Chris Bedford, said that he thought this might be a little overdone even in terms of wind speed. So very, very light. This is now Sunday morning early. Sunday morning at 7 a.m. We have east wind flow, not looking a lot better, honestly. And then this is Sunday at about 1 o'clock. And once again, this here is the sure sign of a thermal breeze. A lake breeze due to the colder lake water and the warmer land causing the wind to flow from the lake onto the land. And you can see we've got slightly better wind speeds all along the Wisconsin shore than we do along the Michigan shore. So you don't want to be in the middle of the lake, and you don't want to be along the eastern edge of the lake in this situation, because there's just no wind over here, where there's a little bit more wind here, and that can make all the difference in the world in a race like this. 7 o'clock on Sunday. Again, this is what's left of our thermal here. Wind's coming out of the south. Now we're overnight. This early Monday morning, and again, overnight, the lake just goes into shutdown mode. It looks like there's large areas of no wind whatsoever. 2 to 4 knots of wind, 4 to 6. And as Chris said, this might be overdone. We're Monday morning at 7 o'clock. We're starting to see sort of a gradient wind, which is a wind due to a big high pressure system or low pressure system up here in the north of the lake. I expect some of our racers and cruisers might be up in this area and try to go now across on this wind, which is the strongest that we've seen. Very unusual route for the race. Now we're on Monday at 1 p.m. 8 knots of breeze, maybe we're talking on the north end of the lake. Boats will be going 4 or 5 knots, maybe as much as 10 or even 12 knots. God help us by Monday afternoon. And so we go out to Tuesday before too long here, but just to give you some sense that we're not talking about great wind speeds. We're talking about long periods with no wind. And we're talking about staying by this Illinois-Wisconsin shore, where, as you can see, the pressure continues to be stronger for as long as possible. Now, the challenge is you got to get over here to Mackinac Island eventually. And how do you get there, right? Normally, you'd go sort of up here, up by Little Sable Point, Big Sable Point, Point Betsy, and go this way. But that may not work this year. We should see some really interesting tactics. So that's sort of the weather situation that we have right now. That's the race situation right now. I hope this was helpful, and look forward to speaking to everyone on Facebook. I'm shutting down for the night now, and hope to speak to you all soon. Thanks. Bye.